This whole thing just stinks. It's entirely rotten. I could smell it a mile away. The level of corruption in this country never ceases to amaze. And I think this thing might go pretty deep. I don't want to hear any Americans talking about the corruption that takes place in other countries because at least in more so, they're open with it. It's open, blatant corruption. And if you're someone who lives outside of these borders of what's considered to supposed to be America, don't believe all this stuff that you hear about your countries and America is so great, because this country is absolutely filthy. They just dress it up in high fashion. But when you take off the clothes, when you take off the designer labels, you see how dirty it really is. Now, with this Jussie Smollett situation, this guy went from facing 16 felony counts to all charges being dropped, and he just basically relinquished a $10,000 bond. So basically, he paid a $10,000 fine. Now, there's some people who are saying that he was never going to face any real prison time, that at most he was only going to get a fine. So the prosecutors, if that's what they thought it was, they said, let's just let this go and make him relinquish the bond, and let's just save the time and put this issue behind us. But with the history of Chicago and Cook County and the level of corruption that is there, I don't doubt that the prosecutors maybe were overzealous or there were some other things going on, but I don't know if it's really just that simple. Okay. Now, as I stated in my previous podcast, I'm not going to speculate on what the truth may have been with Smollett. Okay. I know a lot of the fellas out there, a lot of the brothers, we were very suspicious about certain things. I mean, I'm just going to say this. Women may tend to be more naive about these things, even though in this instance, we're talking about a sodomite. But if you're a dude and you've got that kind of money and you get off of a flight and you just got home or back to your hotel room or your apartment or something, and you're really starving, you didn't eat on the plane, do you really think you're going to go out at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning where it's dark out at night, when you could just have a 24-hour restaurant deliver, or maybe a catering service that offers that kind of a service, or, Grubhub or something like that? I'm going to go out to get a foot-long Subway sandwich. Is that supposed to be code word for something? So it just didn't make sense to me. I can't speculate exactly what happened, but we all have our suspicions. So until something else comes out, I'm not going to really comment too much on what may have went down. But I will say this. I don't hear anything from the alternative sexuality community on the individual who is an ideological Ashkenazim, who is also a homosexual sodomite, and where dead brothers who probably were also fellow sodomites, were found dead in his basement. And this individual is affiliated with big Democrat politicians like Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and Hillary Clinton. Okay. Where is the homosexual community and the homosexual lobby in talking about the victimization of homosexual males being found dead now in this man's basement? Okay. I don't hear the gay community talking about that, but they want to talk about Jussie Smollett and other things, and how this is now supposedly the civil rights fight of their time. So that's my question to the sexual deviants out there. And let's see if you're really going to be consistent about your outrage and what you protest against. Now, there's some other connections with this Smollett situation. Recently, Michael Avenatti, who decided to team up with Gloria Allred and her daughter and reopen the R. Kelly situation that now led to additional investigation and charges. He is connected with this guy, Mark John Geragos, with the accusation that they were trying to extort millions of dollars from Nike and with some athletes involved. Now with Michael Avenatti, he was working with the same prosecutors in the Chicago area that were handling the Smollett case, with his colleague who's believed to be a co-conspirator, Geragos. Geragos is a lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer, who has defended a lot of high-profile individuals. Now, I'm just going to do some name dropping here real quick to let you know the people he's been involved with. He has represented Susan McDougal, dealing with the Whitewater case, and also she was connected with Bill Clinton, and she was charged with embezzlement. He has defended Winona Ryder when she had her issues with shoplifting. He's defended Michael Jackson and Scott Peterson, and Scott Peterson is a guy who's probably murdered multiple women he's been involved with, wives and girlfriends. Greg Anderson, who was the personal trainer of Barry Bonds with the whole, Baroid investigation scandal that was going on in the earlier 2000s. He has defended Roger Clinton Jr., Bill Clinton's brother, former President William Jefferson Clinton. And all of these have been criminal cases. He has defended Chris Brown in the situation with Rihanna. He represented Kesha with her lawsuit against Dr. Luke. He's also defended Colin Kaepernick. Okay. And other individuals that he's defended Suge Knight, Puff Daddy, Diddy Combs, Mike Tyson. So these are some pretty high profile individuals. It goes from political to celebrity. And most of all of these cases have been criminal cases. Now, he's listed as a co-conspirator with Avenatti with this alleged extortion with Nike, and also involving certain athletes. So, and see, this just shows you that if there is something going on here, if there is something fishy and nefarious, these people don't, with all of their high IQs, they don't know how to operate, because if something like this goes down, you don't want it to all go down within the same week, within the same day, within hours of each other, because it seems too much like a coincidence. Let it breathe, let the story dissipate, let it die down. And then when everything cools over and when people aren't paying attention, and the 6th day of the week before the Sabbath, where people, as people are getting ready for the weekend, is the best time to do it, because a lot of those stories tend to not get traction over the weekend, over the Sabbath. But no, they just drop this stuff like dominoes, boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. He also represented the Carradine family, David Carradine, who was found dead in a very peculiar situation. He represented his family in his death. So when you look at the spider web and you're connecting the dots, it's very suspicious. Okay. And there's too many connections to seem like a coincidence. You have the issue with the accusations against Michael Jackson. You have these political connections particularly with Democrats. You have Smollett with this situation with Chicago PD and Chicago prosecutors. His colleague Avenatti and R. Kelly, also something that's being based out of Chicago. He also represented Gary Condit, another politician. Now, he was the guy who, when Chandra Levy went missing, he was accused of having something to do with her disappearance and possible murder. And there was speculation that he had impregnated her and he was trying to get it covered up. I don't know, maybe if he was trying to get her to have an abortion initially and she wanted to keep the baby, but then she ends up missing. I can't recall if they found the body or not, but it's believed that she was pregnant as well and that he probably fathered the child. So these politicians, from Bill Clinton's brother to Gary Condit, a former congressman, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Okay. Now, with him defending Kaepernick, I don't know if that has something to do with the deal that Cap was able to get with Nike. Was that a part of any type of an extortion, an intimidation scheme, and how Cap ended up getting paid? I'm not sure. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, this situation with Avenatti and Geragos, and particularly with Geragos's track record, you know, I could pull up, let me pull up Avenatti's record real quick, other than Stormy Daniels and 45 and Gloria Allred. Now with Avenatti, here's another thing to consider as well. Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes with people in Trump world. You know, to my knowledge, Avenatti first made a name for himself with working with Stormy Daniels, which, if you were to ask me personally, I think he was receiving more from her than simply just payment or working based upon a contingency basis as a lawyer. I think he was getting some freebies, perhaps, or some advances, if you know what I mean. So, you know, he probably has the same problem that Trump has, you know, these guys. You know, many of them are sexual deviants. So let's see. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe some things going on behind the scenes. Maybe some people affiliated with 45 are going after these guys, especially now that the Mueller investigation is over and done with. I mean, because once again, you got all these things just lining up and boom, 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 they're just falling down. The Mueller investigation wraps up. We come out with the summary. They don't have anything to try to do any kind of indictment or charges, and it doesn't look like you're going to get any possible impeachment, even though Dems will certainly, you know, play their part in this political chess game. You have the situation with R. Kelly. You have the situation with Smollett. You know, now here he comes up with extortion and Nike. So looking at his career, now, he was affiliated with the Goldman family against OJ. Okay. And he's had some celebrity connections as well, representing some celebrities and working on some movie projects as an attorney. But nothing that I could really tell right now that really sticks out with a sore thumb. Okay. Now, another thing that's interesting about going back to Geragos real quick, he is affiliated with the Armenian community. And speaking of the OJ trial, Kardashian, I believe Rob Kardashian Sr., he is Armenian. He and his family are Armenian. The Kardashians, they're Armenian. So I wonder if there's some kind of an Armenian connection with Geragos and the Kardashians and all of this, and representing certain individuals in these cases. Because it seems like whenever there's a lot of these scandals that just break out, that certain, after a certain amount of time, certain lawyers become the go-to guys to be the fixers and the cleaner-uppers, or the ones to handle all of these deals. So, like I say, I don't know if there's maybe some kind of a 45 Trump world retaliation going into this. I don't know if Smollett maybe flipped on Geragos, who had previously represented him, and is also and who also represented Michael Jackson, or if they just had some information on Chicago prosecutors and Chicago police, and if they say, if you gonna come after me, we'll come after you, and we'll start leaking stuff and dropping some receipts, and they decide, okay, let's just let this thing go. You just kind of give us the 10 grand to cover some costs, and we'll just move on from this. But I'm not defending R. Kelly by any means, and all of these people who play this game in Hollywood, but based upon what's going on right now, this looks like to be a very good development for Mr. Robert Kelly. And I wouldn't be surprised that all of the so-called documentaries and basically, like someone put in the past, the high-tech lynching that they're doing with Michael Jackson, I wouldn't be surprised if that dies down for now, because I think some people are maybe going to be going away with this issue that's coming up now, and with the connections and how deep down the hole, down the pit that this thing goes. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing just stinks. These people are absolutely dirty, absolutely filthy, and those from our community, especially when it comes to celebrity and politics, if they get involved with these individuals and they play that game and they start working with these fixers and cutting these deals and keeping these secrets, I have no sympathy for you. My advice is to never get yourself involved with these people. Okay. You know how crooked they are. And if you somehow do get involved, you can always get out. And I wonder if Geragos, I wonder if he has any tea on, or any receipts perhaps, on things that may have went on behind the scenes with, say, like Gary Condit, Bill Clinton's brother, Michael Jackson, even with Mike Tyson, the Kaepernick situation with Nike, Cap being paid off by Nike, when the NFL was colluding to keep him out. So, even maybe possibly the OJ trial and the Kardashians. Let's just see where this goes, man. Because when people get put in that vice and those charges come down, a lot of people start singing and giving up the juice just so they could save their own necks and cut a deal.